Hey guys, this is Tryptic bringing you an exciting new commentary because today they are testing Tryptic's mod. It's a mod of my own creation. Basically, I took fleet operations and I modified only the stats of a couple of vessels, trying to make some of the ships that we don't use as often more interesting, and also trying to help just some of the strategies that people felt were overpowered or underpowered. So I have a 3 versus 3 today, which is the most I've had playing this so far. Some of these guys have not actually played it before, so I mean they'll be seeing stuff as they for the first time as they play. So we'll be lenient, and also, I only created it, I only posted it publicly yesterday, so and it's been in production for a week now. So I am definitely planning to make changes based on what people decide is overpowered or underpowered today. So on a 3 versus 3, Broken Borders is a fairly large map. It's kind of similar to Rain actually, except it just has fewer moons you can see here. So you have your rear option and your forward option for most people, and then these dilithium moons right in the middle that certain races can claim early, although because in my mod I've only finished changes to, or done enough for the Borg and Romulans, that's what everybody's playing. So there are no races in this game that can claim this early, because basically Klingons fed Dominion are the ones who would build a forward yard there. So I'm also only really seeing Borg versus Romulan play for testing purposes. But what I've been told so far is that my changes to the beam spheres have made them a little bit overpowered, and that there may be a bit of trouble with the warbirds, but we're not sure. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm also posting these online, but I'm going to go ahead and just start talking about some of the changes I made. Well, first let me introduce the players, sorry. We have Drone on the top, Old Time Pro, and Nuukov. Okay, so the same team, same layout as before. On the bottom, FleetNoob. FleetNoob, are you the same person as Trek Fan? Or did someone else just join our game? And then MightyMaster and then Shadow. Other than that change, everybody is the same as the last game I recorded. So, sorry, on the top we have Drone as Borg, Old Time Pro playing Romulans, and Nuukov playing Borg. That doesn't seem right. Huh, okay. And then on the bottom we have Shadow playing Romulans, and MightyMaster playing Romulans, and FleetNoob playing Borg. So let's see. Several of the changes I made. Well, there's a lot of them right there for Borg. I've made their, because I was noticing that on maps where everybody was getting 2 or 3 expansions right away, the Borg were having a serious problem expanding their infrastructure, like getting large numbers of ships, because of the way they're limited. So I've made the higher level node research a whole lot cheaper than they were previously. But this was also designed to counter, in large 3 versus 3, 4 versus 4 games, everybody giving money to the Borg player to get an early diamond or cube. So what I also did was I made it so that you have to have nodes level 3 to build a diamond, and you have to have nodes level 4 for a cube. Unfortunately, in this first version, it's broken and it does not actually require level 4 for the cube yet. That's going to be fixed by the end of the weekend. In fact, I've already fixed it, it's just in the next version. So, also, I wonder if we will see any assimilate avatars today. I did make the pyramid a bit more enticing, and also the assimilator. So yeah, a lot of what I've done with the smaller ships, the small Borg ships, I have waiting to see if these guys build anything. Okay, so here Old Time Pro is playing Muriel, and down in the bottom I'm expecting, okay, we are going to see a lot more, no, okay, here's Halev. Shadow's playing Halev Romulans, but we are going to see more warbirds on a large map like this. And the warbirds did receive various buffs across the board, but they're different kinds. So, for the small Borg ships, I want to start with Borg. All of the regeneration modules on the small Borg ships have had their tritanium cost increased a little bit, but also the regeneration rate has gone from a 10% bonus to a 100% bonus. So, for example, a regeneration, while an intercept scube deals twice as much damage as a regeneration scube, just about, a regeneration scube regenerates about twice as fast. So if it takes some damage, goes out of combat, it can restore itself to full health in just a few minutes. Same with the adapter and the intercept dode. Or, well, the dode with the regen. Then for, Who is shooting? Okay. In the case of in the case of assimilators, I made it so that combat assimilators are much cheaper. Well, a little bit resource cheaper, but I also made them cost less CCs in supply. And people are telling me that their CC cost may be too low because the assimilate avatar also gets plus 20 defense on those. So, but then I made the blue beam ones cost more supply to make it difficult to just mass large numbers of them. So I'm going to, like I say, people are saying if you were a assimilate avatar and just built combat assimilators, that would be overpowered right now. So I'm going to look into that and possibly change it. For higher level, the diamond I did not touch at all. The sphere, I took its beam modules that used to cause split firing and I changed them so that they still fire on one target, but what they do is it fires several shots in a row and then it recharges and then it fires several shots again. And I also lowered the cost and the offensive value just a little bit on those. But people are saying that they're still pretty powerful now that they're cheaper. So I'm going to maybe look into that as another change. Let's see, and then the cube, or the pyramid, like I say, the pyramid with holding beams only is significantly cheaper. And then, because by the time you get a pyramid, you're going to be dealing with larger fleets, so its ability to assimilate a single target should be pretty high. Then the cubes, I basically made any cube that does not have tactical plates way cheaper than it used to be, because I think the defensive hit points of the cube really define its ability to go against a big fleet. So a cube that does not have plates, that only has about 4,000 hit points, is going to cost you about 1,500 less, and it's going to cost less CCs. But like I say, because it'll have really high damage and it'll have really good regeneration rates. But if it gets attacked by a big fleet, the kind of fleet that a cube is fighting anyway, then it will die a lot easier. And because it's still slow, it'll have trouble escaping. For the Romulans, OTP is trying out their turrets. I didn't do much to make them actually stronger in combat, like when you have a singularity transmitter. I'm considering making the singularity transmitter itself a bit cheaper, but what I did do is I make it so that you can decommission them for full price. That does not include supply, but you can get the supply back, or it doesn't cost supply if you do the prefine components research. So basically the idea is you can build them in the early game, and then once they're out of energy you can just decommission them for full price and get your money back. So here we see that MightyMaster is getting attacked pretty early. He's been using the new Dederidex, which this Dederidex costs more supply, but its combat stats are greatly increased. So we're going to see if he's able to hold off this early Borg assault from, who is this? From Nuukov. These are still intercept cubes, and I don't know how much damage they're going to do. This adapter is from Drone, so the bottom team was sort of ganging up on him here. And I think they're also taking damage from old-time pros, so poor MightyMaster is really getting all of his miners hammered. He is going to be able to get out at least 2 Dederidex. I guess he'll be able to get a third one. The question is when he has to start building supplies, that's when he'll get really locked up. And also, over here, Shadow is also building Dederidex after his first Oresis. The Oresis has had its tritanium cost greatly increased, but its other costs have been decreased, sort of to complement the Dederidex. So it looks like the bottom team are very much trying to go for these Dederidex. They are supposed to be more of a good early game warbird option just when you need to defend yourself from something like these scubes. So this is the way that it's designed to be used. It will still, I mean, there's still only a couple ships, so it will still take them a while to chase off these scubes. I'm going to see if I can try to get the information, the interesting stuff for you to see. These Rians are still going to do, they're still going to be able to get away from this Dederidex. Its damage isn't really all that high. Meanwhile, here is a double beam? Yeah, a double beam, double regen sphere. This is what FleetNoob has been testing out for me. He's found this one specific sphere and he likes building them a lot. So he's testing if these are overpowered for me. So this has come into play. Yes, so now you can see what it does is it fires 4 shots in 3 seconds. Or no. No, yeah, it fires 4 shots with a delay of 3 seconds between them. And then it recharges for like 3 seconds, I believe. And he has the one. Other than that, I think the costs have been decreased on it. Where are we fighting? Okay, this scout's getting chased off. So now, Shadow is getting his second Diderdex, I think. No, third, and he has the Eresis. Over here in the middle, MightyMaster is building his third. So these guys did get their Diderdex, but, I mean, these Shrikes are still going to just keep on messing with him pretty badly. Another interesting difference is he Muriel? Oh, no, okay, these guys are both Helev. I was going to say, if you were Muriel, you could get... you could build Shrikes out of your Warbird Yard. And that's sort of Muriel's answer to this. But Helev, I think these guys need to shift over into Eresis production. Just because the Eresis will be able to find these Shrikes because they're 140 speed. They're the same speed as the Shrikes. The Eresis might be able to hunt them down and get some kills on them. But the Diderdex aren't going to be able to kill off the Shrikes. And now these Shrikes are going to come over here and kill Shadows mining. In fact, these Shrikes by OTP may have the highest kill to cost efficiency of hardly any ship we ever see here. Now he is getting his... He did go ahead and get his Warbird Yard, and we're going to see a combat assimilator coming in here. It's a whole lot cheaper now, but I don't know if it has the firepower to chase these guys off, because these Diderdex are very tough defensively now. They are very difficult to kill, and this assimilator is so slow it's going to escape. We do have a large number of Borg ships coming in here. All these intercept scubes, though, deal reduced damage to battleships. This is not a battleship, so it won't take the fully reduced damage. So we have a lot of people fighting. I think all of the teams are here right now, because here comes Shadow's Diderexes, and we're going to see how Diderexes deal against these Borg ships. One Scube has died. This probe is going to die, although the Eresis is taking a lot of damage. And it just barely gets killed there. I think there is an EM Scube. Yeah, so the Romulans cannot cloak out under this right now. And this Diderdex is taking a lot of damage. There goes, I think, another probe, and the EM Scube has been chased off. So now they could cloak out. Do we have an EM adapter here? No, this Diderdex lived. With only, what was that, 80 hit points on it? So yeah, these Diderdex are supposed to be the warbirds of the Romulan fleet, the ones that can... Oh, is that the assimilator? I think so. Also, the top team is not fighting near their turrets, which are very nice here. So these Diderexes are supposed to be grand champions of staying alive, and they seem to have served their purpose pretty well. This sphere is taking a lot of damage, but it's regenerated fully, and I think the top team just weren't able to focus their damage on it enough. Old-time pro building more and more defense batteries. If you don't get prefabricate components, though, it's really going to take up your supply cost to build all those turrets. And here they're not going to be able to stop this combined Diderix fleet from killing this Star Yard, so he did cancel his Salar production. Meanwhile, though, his Shrikes have ripped through these miners. So the bottom team is not in a good shape economically. As you can see, these adapters, these are all regen torpedo. So they do regenerate quite nicely out of combat, and he's definitely taking advantage of that by cycling them. But I don't know how well they're going to do, and this Salar is going to die, because although its stats have been increased, its hull strength has been decreased, so it's not going to be able to cloak out as effectively. So the bottom team are definitely using the big ships the way they're supposed to be used, depending on the Diderdex to get out no matter what. I don't know if a single Diderdex has been killed. And then the Sphere has just been staying behind, using its regeneration, trying to use these as tanks, which is ironic that it has 72 defense. These guys have 60 defense, but they can still tank for the Sphere. Now these adapters are in a bit of trouble. But there's all these turrets with their 51 damage shots. I don't know, like I say, I increased the mobility of these turrets, but I didn't make them actually have any more firepower or lower cost, so I'm surprised to see so many of these from Old Time Pro. I wonder if he's going to try to rebuild his warbird yard now, or what he's thinking to do. But down here, and this is the part where, okay, both of these guys have just bought supply. Well, no, okay. MightyMaster has bought his first supply. So, just to look at the stats here, Shadow has 4 Dideridex, and he is out of supply entirely. So he's going to have to buy again. And you notice this has encouraged him. He had to go ahead and get his Tritanium here, because all these while all of these guys are costing dilithium, he's going to do a lot of supply buys. And since his home Tritanium got knocked out, by the time he gets a supply buy and he can build more Dideridex, it's going to be a very long time. He's pretty much locked out right now. And that's why it's so important, that's why I don't feel bad about giving these Dideridex such high stats, is because he has 4 Dideridex and he's not going to get any more for a very long time. So he really can't let them die. They need to stay alive. And I think one of these, they did get a kill on one of these Shrikes, but this Shrike has gotten 33 defense on a Shrike. And that's when I think it just, yeah. Oh, that's right, extra damage to destroyers. Oh! And they have advanced cloak, I guess, or that one does. It can't be detected by tachyon pings specifically. So over here you notice MightyMaster, he's gotten his mining back a bit, but it just got raided again. He has, since he was able to buy supply, so he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Dideridexes. But, and he does have supply to keep building. Here we see some Shrikes raiding on a resources simulator. That's not going to go exactly as well as it did against the Romulans. And we see a pair of beam spheres. So, the top team has lost a lot of ships, and especially Old Time Pro's Warbird Yard. That was an expensive loss. But the bottom team have not lost any of their military. Except for that Oresis that died. Which you'll also notice the Oresis is a very different ship from the other Warbirds now. I mean, it always was, because its stats are like 32 and 28. Its stats are so much lower than the other Warbirds. But what I did was I increased the stats on the other Warbirds and I decreased the cost of the Oresis. So it really is more of a heavy cruiser, which makes sense with its speed. So, poor Shadow. Shadow needs to build a lot of miners. Here he's trying to expand up here with something, but I think it's more important to just get the miners. But he has to have a Oresis or something to defend. Okay, well he's getting Star Yard, so he's either going to build some of these or hopefully get Tal Shiar Academy and go for Nurexans or even Tavara. I did not change the Tavara at all, but I changed the Nurexan. I should really go over the Romulan changes that I've made. So, the Warbirds, the Salar and the Dideridex both got stat increases and also supply cost increases, which means that if you get a couple of them in the beginning of the game like these guys did, they're better, they're very good, and they're very hard to kill. Although the Salar, since I lowered its hull, it's actually still, it can be killed okay. Most of its changes were offense. But, and then, the Nurexan gets plus 20 defense when in multi-purpose weapons is not active. So you shift it between having that defense and having the offense. So this should make it so that Warbirds are much better, the way you're seeing it now, you can do a Warbird strategy on larger maps. I don't know if you can do it in 1 versus 1, because that's a whole lot harder to balance. But I'll see what I can do. I'll see if I can make it fair for these to be used in a 1 versus 1. Right now, I'm not even expecting that they're fair. I don't know if they're overpowered or underpowered. Because like I say, on the one hand, they are pretty powerful. On the other hand, you can only get like 4 of them before you have to buy supply. So, here they go, decloaking on the Borg here. I think these Borg earlier ships, as you can see, the adapters have regenerated nicely, and this one has EM. But there's just too much firepower from the bottom team. This diamond has come in. I don't know if it has nanites. We'll find out. You can see there's a Dideridex taking a lot of damage, and he's trying to retreat that out. However, Shadow's Dideridex has come in, Oh, and this Daredix is lost. That is an 87 supply loss. I think I just saw an adapter go down and another one is going down. And this one has its engines disabled. If there's, I don't know if there's an EM adapter left that they can detect that. Probably not. So it's going to sit there with engines disabled. This Daredix is taking damage, and it might die. Yep, and weapons out, so it's dead. So MightyMaster is losing Daredix here. This adapter's going to die. Probably. Now though, I don't know if the top team has enough damage, and these spheres have not really taken much damage. This one has used its regeneration, but there go the nanites. They were probably waiting for that to be researched, but with these Daredix and these spheres now, they're going to be able to kill these guys off. And I don't think the bottom team are going to take any more losses here. So the top team, oh, now the hunt for the diamond begins, because these adapters may already be dead. Like, there may be no way for them to get out. So the top team took very heavy losses there in the form of adapters. While the bottom team, what was that, 2 Daredix from... yeah, 2 Daredix lost by MightyMaster. Shadow did not lose any. When you only have... Let's see, I think he's building something out of Star Yard. No? What is he building? Maybe he's just built a ridiculous number of miners. Or maybe there is another Daredix or something out there that I'm not seeing. But no, I think Shadow still has his 4... Oh, shoot. MightyMaster's Daredix got engine disabled and sensors. Oh, I think it chased too far when he wasn't paying attention, and he lost another one. That really hurts. So, but yeah, I was going to say Shadow, because Shadow has hardly any... because Shadow has hardly any Daredix, he only has his 4, and now he finally... No, that's a repaired one. With only 4 Daredix, Shadow is being very careful not to lose any. And so he still has not taken a Daredix loss, but he still has not really been able to build anymore. He is getting another Star Yard. What is he hoping to spam? Oh, wait. He might have gotten Sire Tech. That would have been expensive and slow. So, over here, who's fighting? Old Time Pro is still just harassing with these guys all over the map, and this can be so frustrating to deal with. MightyMaster has... Oh, I think this Daredix, its engine's just recovered, and it's going to go in and attack by itself. You got to be careful of that, man. Unless he's controlling it directly, he might be. There is at least one engine disabled to Daredix here. Let's see, so, here we have a relay. And they're putting relays... FleetNoob is going ahead and getting relays on his Romulan's allies mining, and this will be helpful, although with these strikes just going all over the place. Okay, and this one did deploy. In my mod, each of these relays now gets a special ability. The intercept relay has a chance to disable engines with its attack. The regenerate relay just regenerates twice as fast. So it does, like if it were to not be killed, then it would regenerate pretty quickly. And this one, the Vinculum relay, is actually going to board nearby ships very slowly, the same way that the incubation chamber does for Assimilate Avatar. Right now, it's still very slow. It's like 3 crew every 10 seconds. I'm planning to increase that. But I figured that would be a nice little deterrent. And also, the big thing about the boarding ability is if you're using blue beam assimilators, and they strip the enemy down to 0 crew, and then the ship is just floating there waiting for somebody to get it, and it's a race to see who can click on it faster. That's when having something that's auto-boarding nearby is helpful, because it might automatically throw 3 crew onto that ship, and all of a sudden you own it, and you didn't have to click. So FleetNoob is just loading up on these Vinculum relays. He's putting them all over the place. I don't think I changed the costs at all on that. So they're still pretty much unchanged, and I don't think the Assimilate is going to have too big of an effect against these Shrikes, so it's not going to make a huge difference. However, these things their hit points go down to 150 when they're deploying. So if he's not careful, he's going to lose these to some aggressive Shrikes. So here's Shadow. Man, he's using resources, but I don't know what he did with the star yards. Maybe the star yards were only for repair. Oh, I bet that's what it was, because down here his miners couldn't repair at all. So he built the star yard so he could get them in there for repair, and that's what this is. This is a forward repair yard. He's finally building his 5th Daredex. Who is shooting? Who is shooting? Oh, okay, here we have MightyMaster raiding on Old Time Pro's mining with his Daredex. And here we have Shadow is going to raid these guys. This will be nice. Finally some Borg getting raided, although this diamond is deadly. It can throw down nanites. And it's long range. I would be very afraid that he's going to throw down nanites and then hit you with something else. Oh, never mind. Hello. Nuukov does not have nanites yet. So, and here these Daredex, they see the starbase, they're going to leave. Who else is shooting? Okay, MightyMaster is taking his Daredex all the way up here. And now, finally, Old Time Pro has a Daredex. And since his is a Muriel Daredex, his speed is increased over these ones. I don't know if that'll make a very big difference, but his defense and his speed are both slightly higher than theirs. Although, I mean, 3 points when you're already around 60. Not that big of a difference. MightyMaster continues to harass. So let's see, and then, yeah, these guys are going to get back. That's not going to die. You can't kill that Daredex this close to a yard. Boo. So, the top team has switched almost exclusively to diamonds. Both Borg players have been getting up their supply because they were basically out. Old Time Pro is shifting into the Daredex now. But he's getting hit by 2 enemies. No, wait, no, never mind. Old Time Pro must have been doing pretty good for supply. Or maybe he got gifted some from his allies. But he has managed to ramp up 4 Daredex very quickly. And with all of his turrets here. I guess it's because once he had these Shrikes out, besides that Warbird Yard and the turrets and the Shrikes, he really hasn't been building much. And if he wants, he could decom all of these turrets and get the 4 resources back, even though that would only amount to like 1 more Daredex. Well, actually, I don't know. These are like 350 each, I think. Oh, shoot. Like you see here, if he notices this, this one here is outside of range of the Singularity Transmitter, sadly. I think I'm probably going to take this energy thing and increase its range to long. Just because, I mean, seriously, that should count. That should be powered by that. That's close enough. But yeah, if he notices that, he may want to decommission this because it can't shoot. But yeah, so as you can see, OTP has not been spending many resources for most of this game, so now he's been able to shift into the Daredex very quickly. MightyMaster has finally gotten his economy partially recovered from all this raiding, although here it comes again. OTP is just all over these guys. And it is funny, I specifically increased the supply cost of the Daredex so that it would be more difficult for people to spam them exclusively and build nothing but Daredex. And yet I'm finding that people are enjoying building nothing but Daredex. And I mean, it is kind of tricky because once you had the Daredex, what are you going to mix with it? Like, if you throw in, you could throw in Salars because they have the stun. And that's the other thing. For the Salar, I made its Disruptor Bombardment long range, and the reason I did that is so that they could combine with the Daredex, because once you have Daredex, you could have Salars and they could be the stunners. But the Salars, the Daredex are so tough defensively. The Salars are going to get shot first because they have lower defensive value. So the Salars really have to stay behind the Daredex, and that's why I give them the long-range stun. It's like you could mix 1 or 2 Salars into your Daredex fleet, and you could use them for the stun ability. But there's also the Nurexen, which is a lot beefier as well. But in this situation, the pulse damage of the Nurexen wouldn't be too useful. So I think just building more Daredex is the right call for them. But I don't think it's overpowered. Was that a sphere that died? Oh wow, these spheres are dying fast. Their defensive value isn't too high, but I mean all of these Romulan ships, there's just too many, and these diamonds. There's a lot of torpedo damage coming from these diamonds. So, FleetNoob's beam sphere is getting taken out. There the engine disable happens, so they're going to die. So, I had heard that Borg were overpowered, but... I mean, yeah, that the Borg were having overpowered issues, but maybe not. I'm open-minded to the idea that I need to change something. But it's fun to see people winning both ways. Oh shoot, and this D'Deridex might get sniped by the Shrikes if he's not careful. Oh yeah, OTP sees it and he's gonna kill it! Oh! There it goes. Yeah, so I feel like the high supply cost of the D'Deridex is making it so that even though everybody is spamming them this game, they're not overpowered. But I mean, the players themselves will say that. I think these diamonds were what killed those spheres more than the D'Deridex. And it's interesting, Borg and Romulan play very well together now because these D'Deridex, if they were combined with other Romulan ships, the D'Deridex would not take any damage because their defense value is almost the highest of the entire Romulan race. So nothing would shoot at the D'Deridex if there was something weaker on the field, which means that you kind of do want to build only D'Deridex because anything else you add into this fleet is going to get killed. But the D'Deridex are working really great for Borg, although I say that, but this diamond has lower defensive value than the D'Deridex. But I'll say in some cases like those spheres, the D'Deridex were actually tanking for them. The D'Deridex were taking shots before the sphere. Which I'm not sure, I mean, maybe you wanted the sphere to take damage because it could regenerate. But I think that the D'Deridex are able to fly with the Borg, while historically Borg and Romulan have been one of the hardest allies to have. I've played games where I would show up with Lavals and my ally had spheres, and the Lavals just get slaughtered by the enemy fleet while those spheres just sit there and don't get shot at. Even though you much rather would have kept the Lavals alive and lost the spheres, or had the spheres get shot at and tanked. This D'Deridex here with its disabled engines. So, let's see. MightyMaster. I want to see what all was lost. The diamond count is very high now. And this might be in part because, like I mentioned, nodes level 3 is now cheaper to get. Which, I feel in this case, I mean, they've been saving up their money. They saved their pennies. I think they deserve to have the diamonds that they have. Actually, I didn't change any of the CC costs or any of the costs associated with the diamond itself. Here, this starbase is probably going to get taken down, though, just because there's enough ships that they can cycle them. Like, they can just change which one's getting shot by the starbase. You see, that one goes to the back when it gets shot at. This one goes to the back. So this Borg base is finished. There's nice little relays on all of these miners. And even one over here. So FleetNoob was doing a very nice job of supporting his allies, but honestly, Old Time Pro is still going to kill stuff. Yeah, like, he's still going to kill these. Meanwhile, Shadow has done pretty good with his D'Deridex. He finally has a sizable fleet of 6. And MightyMaster has been continually building this whole game, buying supply. His supply buyers must be really expensive by now. So the bottom team, or the top team, they have their nanite diamonds. And let's see, Nuukov got raided a bit there by the D'Deridex. Oh, hello, now we have combined Shadow and MightyMasters. And they're going to take out the Singularity Transmitter, which means in just a minute, none of these are going to be shooting. There we get to see a veteran D'Deridex pretty soon. Yep, there we go. It has 104 defense now. That's all. It doesn't get anything special. You can see Old Time Pro's D'Deridex are going to be cycling through the yard and seeing if they can survive this onslaught. I think they might be able to. Another thing I should mention, these D'Deridex, their special ability has been greatly buffed. I kind of want to see these guys use it. The old ability of the D'Deridex decreased enemy damage by 10%. And lasted 10 seconds. The new ability decreases it by 30%, but it requires much more special energy, such that only a D'Deridex that has ranked up will have enough system value to use it. But this one right here could use it, for sure. And this one too, like these Dideridex, they could be using that to get a 30% damage reduction on all these enemies. But now all of these defense batteries are out of energy, so they're not going to be firing anymore. If he wants, Old Time Pro could decommission these in 30 seconds and get the resources back for them. This diamond came in, but it was a ill-advised move. It's going to get slaughtered. It was just a bit too slow. These nanites might engine disable these guys in range of a starbase, and that would be bad, but I don't think a single Dideridex for the bottom team has died yet. All of these pulse things were attacking different Dideridex. They were splitting their fire. Oh, hello, this is a messed up one. Old Time Pro still hasn't lost a Dideridex because they're so tanky. But this one here, yep, this one by MightyMaster got disabled by the nanites, and now it's in range, so it's going to die. And this veteran needs to cloak, because the starbase will be able to attack it and kill it. Maybe? Oh no, this one is just barely out of range of that starbase. So this might be something I need to look at, because normally when you increase the defensive value of a ship, the subsystems get stronger as well. But I will be honest, I did not do this, because I didn't have time to modify every single subsystem value on these ships. So even though, for example, this ship has 60 defense, its subsystems are still at the level of a 40 defense ship. So you do have to be careful about these Dideridex with their shields down. They will lose subsystems as if they still had their old defense. And I didn't do anything to their system value, so their subsystem regeneration rate is still the same as before. It's just a bit risky. Like, don't get too full of yourself just because you're very tanky. You can still lose subsystems. So, and that Dideridex just got slaughtered by these diamonds. This is a lot of diamond firepower. And here comes Old Time Pro's Dideridex fleet. They got a couple shots on the veteran. This veteran has no sensors. So, it's going to be Dideridex versus Dideridex. Hello, what happened here? Oh, I'm sorry. The top team Borg has come in and killed a lot of... has killed a lot of what MightyMaster had. And now they're having a discussion. I did make some of the cubes a lot cheaper, so if MightyMaster gave the resources over to him right now, then FleetNoob could build a cube. For sure. I don't know how well it would work. Like, I don't know if they could afford a full tactical cube, but they might be able to afford a cube with less hit points. I think MightyMaster would like to go back to Warbirds, but now both of the Warbird yards are gone. So I think we're pretty much done seeing those. I mean, they want to put the resources into more of them, but I think what they need to do is just funnel all the resources into Borg and have them build cubes. Oh, he has to rebuild Conduction Matrix first, though, because that got killed. And even though Old Time Pro lost some of his stuff, it wasn't that much. His mining is still intact. Like, the top team is still mining and producing this whole time, and Nuukov is as well. Like, as part of that. So, if the bottom team... I mean, here's these Dideridex. Oh, there's a cube building. They might be able to kill that, but I'm not sure. But, oh, these Dideridex might get engine disabled right next to the yard. That's really risky. Let's see if they manage to get in. Oh, and the physics blocks! He's getting physics blocked by his other Dideridex! Oh, no! Oh, that sucks! So 2 Dideridex bite the dust because of a physics block. They gotta be careful. These veterans are gonna do very nicely, but the other ones are just getting slaughtered. I think another one just blew up because it was sitting underneath this one. This is just bad for Shadow, because these are such micro-intensive ships in a micro-intensive situation, and he clustered them in this tiny little gap between the moon and the yard. So that's going to make it very difficult for him to keep them alive. It's going to mess with his micros. This guy needs to get in right now. It's engine disabled by the nanites. There it goes. It got engine disabled again. If it can just drift into range, it'll get in. It's taking damage, and it's repairing. So the veteran got in. And now here comes another beam sphere from FleetNoob, so they're going to be able to chase off these diamonds. I don't know what the speed is here, if the Dideridex can chase these down. But there it goes, and it's going to die. Oh, so one of the Dideridex killed. These nanites are really nasty. And that hurt, because that... I mean, he couldn't afford another veteran, but he liked that Dideridex. And there's another engine disable. These nanites diamonds are getting so many engine disables. That's the tricky part about diamonds, and that's why I didn't modify them at all. In fact, I made them required nodes level 3, is because those nanite swarms, when you've got like 4 or 5 diamonds using nanites over and over and over again, it's very difficult to deal with. So this one's going to get damaged, and there, an engine disable on this vet. He could get into that green nebula, and he really wants to, but he keeps on getting engine disabled over and over, and now he's drifting this direction. How long will it last? Will he get in? And now old-time pros to Daredexes are here, but also so are MightyMasters. This guy is still floating, its weapons are disabled, it can't cloak, it can't move. It's gonna die. Oh, I'm sorry, man. So the top team is getting some really nasty nanite disables. Wow. There's old-time pros guys cloaking out. This one got engine disabled and destroyed. So nanites are still a ridiculously unpleasant experience to go against. Oh man, I wonder if I increased the system value of these, if like made them more resistant to nanites. It would only be a very tiny amount. But there's another one gets killed. And now Shadow is down to 1 veteran to Daredex. Well, MightyMaster has 1 here. I think they only have 1 each. Whereas Old Time Pro has a cluster because, like I say, he's kept mining this whole game, whereas these guys have had their stuff killed over and over and over again. There's the clicking out. Who's fighting? Oh yeah, I forgot. I guess they didn't kill the cube, or did they? Where are you guys fighting? Oh, that's not even cool. Another engine disable, and this time it's completely broken. And he's going to cloak out. I think the nanites can decloak him, though. Let's see what happens. I think what it's supposed to do is just automatically disable his weapons if it's used on a cloaked ship. Like, it has a chance. But there it goes, yep. Yep, every like 5 seconds, nanites have a chance to disable weapons specifically on cloaked ships. So that one's going to die. So the moral of the story is, nanites suck. And like I say, I didn't modify them at all. Although I was considering, I was going to let a sphere use nanites. I was going to change it so the sphere had to use like 1,000 energy to cast them, so that it would be like not overpowered. And it would also cost additional CCs to build that sphere. But now I'm wondering, because those nanites were just overpowered. Well, not overpowered. They were highly effective within the confines of the game at killing those Daredexes. So many of those Daredexes would have lived if it hadn't been for nanites. So, meanwhile, production-wise, Old Time Pro still sitting, like he hasn't done much. I think these guys are probably feeding their resources, or he's feeding his resources to the Borg to get more diamonds. There's that. So yeah, this is just about GG. The bottom team can't really come back from this. Although, MightyMaster has a large number of scouts. So he can see what's going on. And actually, no, he does have pretty good production here. I imagine that right now Shadow is feeding him all of his resources. Or he's feeding them all to somebody. Yeah, he has a ton of supplies. So he probably fed them all to MightyMaster to build more Daredexes. And they're like, if it works. Although you guys really could have been using the Daredex special. It researches here. Those veteran Daredex could have been giving the nanites minus 30% damage. That would have been pretty nice. And I mean, especially against this, like, give this whole thing minus 30% damage? Yes. And where is it? This one is ranked up enough that it can use it, because it costs 425 energy. So this one can use it immediately after decloaking as well. Get the special, dude. Get the special. And yeah, Shadow is decomming his whole base, while MightyMaster decoms his star base, although it might get killed before it finishes, because that's a very long decom time. Yep. Interestingly enough, these Daredexes are not ranking up because the diamonds are getting all the kills. with their, what is it, 150 damage torpedo? 175 damage torpedo. And oh yeah, even FleetNoob has given up all of his supply, but you can see by the CCs he didn't decide to build something instead. I think he, at this point, he could not build a cube or anything because it would get killed off. However, oh, I was going to say, we should see a cube from the top. Oh look, it's a almost full tactical cube. So yeah, this has the same cost as a regular cube, like as the old cubes. The holding beam cubes are made much cheaper, but this one's better. And then you'll notice it's going to fire in a volley. It's going to go 1, 2, 4, 5. Huh, I need to change its animation for the attack so that it doesn't blur together. But yes, this cube fires 5 shots in a row, and then it takes a break for a second. But only with the beam. The torpedo fires normally, which is 208 damage. The beam isn't that much. Yeah. Oh yeah, that needs to change to 5. I will change that. So yeah, there is now just ridiculously too much firepower on the board for the top team. I do wonder what Old Time Pro is building that is taking so much money. Or maybe he gave money to the other guys a while ago and he just hasn't given it in a while. Here, MightyMaster has more decks. And with this supply, with these 2 yards, and all the resources given to him by his allies, he's been able to pump these out in ridiculous numbers. So he's just lashing out against Nuukov, trying to get more ranks on these. He decommed his research institute, so he's not going to get the special. Meanwhile, this top team must be building something else, like, because keep in mind, they haven't had their mining messed up. Yep, there's another cube. And does Nuukov? Oh, there's a diamond that he decommed, but it still got killed. Who's holding all the resources? I guess they only recently built that cube, so that's why they don't have any more at the moment. Another thing you may notice, these tooltips are not correct. Because what I did was, whenever I wanted to change the offensive value or defensive value, well, offensive value, I changed the rate of fire. Because the rate of fire is a single number, but the damage is a huge file because it has different damage for each target. So, for these ships, the damage will be correct, but the rate of fire is not correct, because I did not have time to modify every single header file. Also, I should mention Shadow. Shadow is playing without the right header file because for some reason it crashes his game. So he has a header file that doesn't actually tell him any of the new changes to the game. He just sort of has to guess. Uh-oh, there come the nanites. You guys are screwed. There's weapons. I wonder if I should increase the casting cost of nanites. Because what is this here? This is a... Okay, this one isn't focused on damage. No, it is. This is a full damage... Oh, what do we have? It has Order to Chaos, Torpedo... Okay, it has everything but a holding beam. But it can cast nanites, what, 3 times? I think that's a bit much. I don't think it should be able to cast... I think it should be able to cast it 2 times in a row. Per diamond. I mean, three nanite castings when you have that many of them. Or possibly even make nanites cost supply or something. I would be a bit loath to do that. Because that could... Well, no, what do you guys think? I'm going to ask this on the forums later. What do you think about making nanites cost supply or CC or something? CC would be a bit hard. That would be weird if it cost you CCs to cast nanites. Just like 2 for each casting. Because then, when you have 1 nanite diamond and you're casting nanites, it's kind of fair. When you have 5 and you're casting it over and over and over again, it'll start to cost you something. Because really, you know, it's not overpowered when there's 1, but you could see how those decks were just getting slaughtered right next to their yard. Oh shoot, and the decloaky scout has gotten these Dederdeks, so they're not going to escape. They all need to decloak now. Time to decloak and kill stuff. You're all going to die. Oh, Shadow has not noticed that his guys are decloaked. He's looking at something else. Oh my goodness, there they go. And it's the top team's victory. I think that was massively because of Old Time Pro's raiding on the bottom team's mining. Although, like I say, the Nanites also did a very good job of killing off the Dederdeks fleets into the end. So, yeah, let me guys know what you think of my mod. You didn't see very much besides Dederdeks, but I have other ideas that I want to try out. Okay, this is Tryptic signing out.